we don't like to talk about things that don't work. And that needs to change. All this buckwheat has grown up. And I thought I had plucked it out, Henry, but I guess I didn't. Alongside our fall squash here, which appears to be growing very well. What do you think? We're going to give these to the chickens. I don't want you to step on the squash, but I do want you to give this to the chickens. Can you do that? Can you give that to the chickens, please? Yeah, thank you. Let's go give that to the chickens. Maybe Lenny will want it. Can you put it over there for Lenny? Take it all? Here, I'm going to put it in a little bit further. There you go. And they'll probably eat that later when they get hungry. Well, as you can tell by the sound of my voice, I am sick. Well, we're sick. Henry's had a little bit of a cough too. So I'm trying to keep my distance from everyone else. Holly may have it as well, and she's resting right now. So it's Henry and I hanging out here, doing a couple of garden chores. There's more for the chickens. Can you give that to the chickens and the turkeys, please? Or do you want to help Dad in the garden box? We got to be careful not to step on the squash. Are you helping?
Help it.
Help it, yeah. So it's been kind of a low-key couple of days here. As you saw in the beginning of the video, I took on an experiment. See, we're both sick. I took on an experiment and set up some 5-gallon buckets to serve as egg-laying boxes. I'm not sure if it'll work. The chickens have been kind of sniffing them out, walking up close, which is a good sign. But whether or not they'll use them remains to be seen. We had a litter box there that we were kind of using as a makeshift extra egg box. But they haven't really been using it because it's on the ground. One thing about chickens, those of you that keep chickens know, they don't like to roost or do any sort of egg-laying stuff on the ground. Turkeys do. Helping, you're helping. But chickens generally like to be off the ground when they lay eggs. So we're gonna see if that works. I didn't want to do too much to this little thing I made. I didn't want to gild the lily. But one thing I may do, if they don't take it up, is add like a little roof over it and maybe some sides just to give it some more, a sense of some more isolation and darkness, because they like to be kind of cloistered away in a little cubby hole. They don't like to be exposed when they're laying eggs. So I'll feel it out. I'll see how they do with this current setup, this current iteration of it. And if they don't like it, then I'll add some more to it, maybe a roof and some sides. You know, one thing I'll say, since deciding to do fall squash, we haven't dealt with squash bugs at all yet. I'm gonna knock on wood. I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but there have been 0 squash bugs or signs of squash bug infestations at all so far. Now we'll keep an eye out, make sure that there's no signs of squash bugs. If there are, then we'll attend to it quickly, but I'm hoping that by starting this late, we've saved ourselves the trouble of squash bugs this year. We'll see. What do you have? Are you helping with weeds? Thank you so much. A quick update on our tomatoes. They're doing well. All of our tomato beds are producing a lot of tomatoes, but they're also getting really weedy, these tomato beds. The tomato beds these 3 tomato beds are the 3 beds that we didn't really do anything for the Bermuda grass over the past winter. The other beds we did, and we've been able to pretty much keep it under control in those other beds. But this is what happens when you're not proactive about getting out Bermuda grass. It takes over very quickly. So we're just gonna have to pick through this and be more diligent in the next off season about removing the Bermuda grass from these beds. It reminds me of a video I watched recently. I forget who it was. It was a YouTube homesteader. The name will come to me after I'm done filming, and if I remember, I'll put a link to the video or the name of the video or the homesteader below. But essentially, the gist of this person's message in the video is that most YouTube homesteading activity that you see is very curated. People like to hide their imperfections. People like to hide their warts, and that goes for YouTube homesteaders as well, or Instagram homesteaders, or whatever your social media is. People don't like to show the weeds. And this guy was making a point. It's like, I think it's important to show the weeds, to show the negative stuff, the imperfections, because those that are starting out, those that may be new to homesteading or self-sufficiency or small holding, they run into stuff like this and they're like, boy, what am I doing wrong? And the answer is, you're not doing anything wrong. This is part of it. This ugly stuff, the weeds, is part of it. You can be as textbook as possible when it comes to homesteading or hobby farming and follow everything by the book, but there's still going to be stuff that slips through the cracks. There's still going to be stuff that gets ugly. There's still going to be things that you miss, simply because you have to prioritize. Certain priorities take over, especially when you get animals, especially when you have kids, especially when you have other responsibility and obligations like working and stuff like that. There's going to be stuff like this that happens. So that video really resonated with me and struck a chord with me, because I think he showed pictures of his garden that were just grown over, and he's like, we just can't get to it this year. Sorry, that's just how it is. Other things take over. We do the best we can. We prioritize where we can, but sometimes we have to shift gears. We have to pivot. And it really struck a chord with me. So I'll echo that sentiment. If you're new to the game, or even if you're just watching along and you're just watching for enjoyment, this kind of stuff, weeds, dead animals, things going wrong, that's part of the game. It happens. It's the ugly side of YouTube homesteading. The stuff no one wants you to see. But it's a part of life. It happens. And you do the best you can. All that being said, I am going to clear out these weeds. But I just thought it was worth making that point. Homesteading, or small holding, or hobby farming, whatever you want to call it, a lot of people have this idea that it's very pretty, that it's a very aesthetically pleasing, beautiful thing. And it's really not. There's a lot of ugly parts to it as well. Objectively, the whole thing, I really enjoy it, and I do find the beauty in it, and it's something that, it's a lifestyle for me, and I'm hooked. But I understand there's some ugly parts to it as well. As you can see, they crowd these few boxes that we do have. There's a turkey in there, and in those 2 milk crates, there's 2 chickens each. So not enough room. Speaking of ugly, this whole setup certainly isn't a Fabergé egg, is it? But that's fine. If it's functional, we'll wait to see if they use it. Then that's all I care about. And you know what? Honestly, I see a feather in there. So somebody's been in there, and this looks like somebody was sitting in there. They're checking it out. And, although I said birds don't like to lay eggs on the ground, it looks like there's been somebody laying down there as well. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'll give it a few days, but if there's no eggs in there, also put like golf balls or something inside there so that it'll trick them. It's like a decoy. If they see a golf ball in there, then they think in their little chicken brains, I can lay an egg in there too. And if nothing, put a roof in, put some siding here, make it a little bit more private. Chickens like their privacy when they lay their eggs. That kind of gets back to what I was talking about. We don't like to talk about things that don't work. And that needs to change. I would like to start exposing the stuff that doesn't work, because there's a lot of it, and I never really talk about it that much. And that shouldn't be the case. I need to start talking about the stuff that doesn't work, even if it's embarrassing, to show people out there, hey, here's stuff to avoid, number one. And number two, it happens to us all. Let's keep an update on this. We'll see how this goes over the next few days, and I'll let you know if we're successful or not. We'll keep tweaking at it. A little bit more infrastructure, same as the theme I was talking about last week. Well, anyways, thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. I hope I get better. Hopefully by the next time you see me, you won't hear this frog in my throat, and I'll be completely recovered. But until that point, hang in there. Remember, as always, slowly, slowly.